It does. So what's full moon here? It's interesting that they said full moon, and that in Obadiah 1 we get him that moves amongst the stars out there. So we get the full moon covered over with his cloud. His nations are covering the full moon. When the full moon is there, right, you've got the pull of water, you got the pull of tides, don't you? So there's this sense that as the moon fills up, right, it's filling up full of water. And usually when it's holding water, they'll say it's like this. And when it's pouring out water, it's tipped that way. And it's pouring out water, right? When it's full, it's holding water. Now, when we look at the word for full moon here, it's going to take us to 3678, and it's going to say throne, seat, or chair. It's the moon and the man is the sun. Well, that's not completely true. Not when we understand what we're reading in the Bible, and most don't, right? They just grab onto these lies of her divide and cast down, takes his lies and yokes off of her neck and takes back her throne of power. We see him falling off of it. And they say, is this the man? Man. Called Lucifer back to the false light. The false light, where he takes her throne of power, the moon, here, identified as a throne, a seat, a chair, official seat. He exalted himself there. You understand what it just told us in figurative language. It appears to be real nations occupying the moon. Or we can go, because the Virgo, in the sign of Virgo, the moon is supposed to be at her feet. The moon is not currently at her feet. The moon was supposed to symbolize the woman's footstool. That's where it was supposed to be. We saw her getting cast down from her throne in Lamentations 2 as the glory that lost her seat of power when he accused her falsely and stole what did not belong to him. So she gets cast down. He then has a footstool, which is technically the moon, but now Earth is at the moon's feet, because the powers of darkness, man, wicked man, Satan the accuser, has now took possession of her throne of power, which is the moon. From there, he then begins to dictate what kind of light, what kind of word, what kind of law will be taught on earth. So then that takes us to the Shulamite, saying, look not upon me. The false light has shone upon me and made me dark, made me black. That also means to mourn in the spirit, right? But my own vineyard, how does it go? My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard, my own come from when his law is the law that begins to rule. Man in love with himself. In love with himself and his own image. She was supposed to be the light of the world. He became the false light of the world. So he became, Lucifer means light. It's not really light. It was a hate. It was a hateful light. It was a hateful anger that he's now in control of, because he's took her throne of power, which is in all sense this moon, the moon. So when you go in and you ask, okay, well, where does the moon, you know, revolve around the earth, right? At what portion does it revolve around the earth? Because what I come to realize is that earth in symbology in the heavens represents Virgo, which is why we go to Revelations 12, right? And I don't have Revelation 12 pulled up. Leave that one there. See, just a second here. And what does it say in 9? Gives birth not to a son, she gives birth to her daughter this time. A strange thing is seen in the earth, a woman shall encompass a man. Yeah, he's my head. Nope. Now it gets to be not so strange, a woman shall encompass a woman, her own head. Wisdom. She'll start to do her own thinking. The weird thing seen in the earth was when he took charge of her house and she actually began to capitulate to the lie. Yeah. That's what's going on. Why now do I see every man standing around with his hands on his hips as if he is a woman that can give life? Do we not understand the figurative language of the spirit? That's what you were told to understand. And most are failing the test miserably. So for full moon in this verse in Job 26, it is throne, seat, chair. And we can't, if my computer will move, properly covered. A throne as a canopied, a seat, a stool, a throne. We'll keep going. Authority, official seat. It was hers. And we saw the glory got cast down to the earth in Lamentations 2, and it's identified as the branch, daughter Zion. Sion means branch, and it's the branch of the mother out of the tree of life, right? She gets cast down to the earth. We see King Solomon getting a footstool made for him. Then we bring in the ritualistic aspects of what was going on with kings like Solomon. And then we see in Revelations 12 the moon at her feet. And so Virgo symbolizes that, right? Virgo is a picture of Earth in a larger telling of the story. And the moon is supposed to be at her feet because she is the queen. She is the rightful ruler of the house. And when she takes possession of her own womb that the children come out of and not hand them over to him and his lies, then she's able to produce truthful witnesses. Right? Yes, they can testify to the Ancient of Days known as Wisdom, your mother. And so in Revelations, I still ain't got the right bulb in that. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. But she gives birth to the daughter. We've proved this. I don't. For those who actually watches the videos from beginning to end, and trust me, I know how difficult that is to do. I'm not an easy watch. I'm not a pretty watch. I'm not a fancy watch. I don't offer any pretty pictures and little videos to go along. I wish I could. I do. But I recognize how hard it is. And when I've put the many hours into the studies that I have and the many videos with all the answers that I have, and somebody comes on and asks a question that is clearly in many other videos, I know that they didn't watch them. And I know, again, it's difficult to watch these videos. But you have to understand, when I began studying, I read some dry material that took me hour upon hours to read through it just to find a sentence that would enlighten me in some way. Hour upon hour upon hour. And people can't watch an hour-long video with answers that came by way of years of hard study. So their ears are stuffed up. You're supposed to want to search and try the spirit. You're supposed to want to weigh up with yours. And if you're that strong in your faith, then watching an hour-long video here and there to educate yourself a little bit shouldn't hurt your faith any. But you were warned that you would be caught in a snare and that you wouldn't be able to come out of it. And when the witnesses show up, that you will not want to hear them. And we're here. It says the spirit will come in like a thief in the night. You know why? Because nobody's listening. You've been told. You've been told so many things, and you can't be bothered to hear them and reason them out. And we've stumbled. You stumble when you're climbing. Don't tell me you don't stumble. It calls me. And we're going to go down to. And she brought forth not a son. It was a daughter. The world ain't gonna hear it. Don't want to hear it. A female child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. We understood what all of that meant. I'm not going to tell you. If you care, which I suspect most don't got the time, to rule with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to her throne. Now we understood that. Who shall ascend into my holy hill? Not he with clean hands, she with clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted herself up to vanity. You know what vanity is there? Male idols. You know who we found with clean hands? I'll tell you this much. The Shulamite. This is the pure one of the mother. Songs 6:9. She is the spirit that was to rule in the earth, and the king there will be crowned with her as the sovereign. She represents the crown and the scepter. And the only one that crowns him with it is Mother Wisdom. It's the mother there. But you understand she's also identified as a sovereign. We get the number 136. I had a sister ask this. I never answered it because we did this study a long time ago. Go look at Psalm 110. You'll find 3 lords sitting on 3 thrones there. You've got 3068. You've got 113. And to his right, you've got the branch and the sovereign who will strike through enemies, thrones in the day of her anger, her wrath. And you know why she's angry? You can't tell, can you? Look around this world at what man's law and man has done to womankind with his religious lie and idols of man as God. The host and creation comes out of her womb, and as such, she was the one who had authority over the law. But because man had so much bloody pride, he couldn't receive the law off of her tongue. And so he chose to strike her in pride, in arrogance. And he even accused her falsely. And she goes silent. We see the woman going silent. She says in Isaiah 42, long time have I held my peace. Long time have I been restrained. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman. I will destroy and I will devour you at once, your lies, Adam. I will set the case in order. I will set the Proverbs in order. I will show you the little book sealed that you don't want to hear about. So,